Hello, hello, hello. This is Talking Manchester United, a United Stand podcast with myself, Paul Gardner, and joining me, as always, is Ash Burns. Ash, how are you, my friend?
A bit tired, yeah, but not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Yeah, it's we're getting there slowly. We're getting there. How about yourself?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Not too disappointed after yesterday, but
No.
we'll get into that in a moment. But for the benefit of everyone listening, obviously, we're going to speak about the Barcelona game. We will look ahead to the fixture against West Ham on Saturday evening, a very important one, if you ask me. And then obviously we'll go over to Twitter. And me being the fool I am, once again forgot to put the tweet out and didn't do it until late this afternoon. So I'm not sure if you've got many replies, but we'll have a look at that anyway. Ash,
Yeah,
a night under the floodlights, UEFA Champions League against Barcelona. It wasn't all doom and gloom, was it?
it wasn't. No, it was. It was a weird one. Do you know what? It was the type of game which I doesn't happen very rarely when I say this, but it went pretty much exactly as I thought in some respects.
See, now I don't know if you remember last week. I thought it was going to go completely different, but we'll come to that.
But well, the thing was, we both said last week, didn't we? We both thought that it was going to be a 1-1. I think we said 1-1, didn't we? I think that was
I
the
believe so.
and like I was saying for most of the week, I thought it was going to be a lot tighter than people thought. We're, when we dig our heels and we put our heads down, we're difficult to play against, and that's what it was. I don't think. People can say that Barcelona were off and this and that. Granted, maybe once they got the goal, they were pretty happy with that and decided, well, we've got a goal. Let's just try and stop them from scoring. But we did. We nullified a lot of their transition through midfield.
I was going to say, because it's okay. Yeah, they weren't at their best, but you could see the frustration in them.
Yeah.
We. It's not just the case of they were off. We were good.
Yeah, we were, and it was, it's a massive testament to some of those players last night. Going up against that Barcelona midfield, they had so few chances that they did. I mean, apart from the goal, there was that Suarez chance, which was quite a decent chance he should have done better with. But apart from that, I can't remember him really having a clear-cut chance, which is ridiculously impressive for a team who've got the defense that we have, and the tumble dryer at right back. It's it was unbelievable the amount of chances that we didn't concede to them. And I'm sure we'll come to it later on. I thought the midfield was fantastic. I really did. I thought we nullified their attacks. I think positionally, we were pretty much spot on in the midfield for most of the game. I thought we tracked back and we doubled up at the right times. A lot of the times, especially on Messi, who had a very, very poor game, obviously apart from the assist. But apart from that, he was so quiet. And I thought the tactics surrounding him, and I think we allowed them a lot more space down the right-hand side. We saw that going, more into the second half with Luke Shaw.
Seen that quite a lot. And okay, but their right-hand side, you mean? Okay.
Yeah, their right-hand side, our left back area, because I think Luke Shaw tucked in more, almost played as a third centre back.
I think he was. I think he was in the back three, wasn't he?
And I think that was maybe to counteract, the Barcelona's, they like to play through centre, through the centre. They like to, play cheeky little through balls. And I thought we afforded them a little bit too much space. But maybe that was, meant to be. Maybe we set up for that because, their balls into the box weren't fantastic. I mean, we won't talk about ours, but I thought we allowed Semedo quite a lot of space down that right hand side, and he didn't do much with it. So maybe we sacrificed that to pick up Messi and Suarez and the likes of Coutinho floating in about. So. Yeah, we'll come to individual performances in a minute, but as a collective, for the most part, I thought we were great. We were a little bit unlucky. I mean, the low chance was a big one. I thought if that goes in, maybe it would have given us a bit of confidence to go on. But for the most part, I think we probably had the better. Oh, I don't want to say we were the better team, but. We weren't hammered by any means, and I thought we played forward football and probably better than they did.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, one thing that I was surprised about, in a good way, was how we set up, particularly when we didn't have the ball. Because if you remember last week, I was saying that in my head, I was thinking it would be a case of it was going to be 80% possession to Barcelona, which, it wasn't far off that. But the way I was looking at it is that all the football would be played in our third, or an hour and a half at least, and that we would literally just be camped and just cutting off every single passing lane possible and defending that way. But we didn't. We did pretty much the complete opposite. We pressed quite high. Our front three were always quite high up the pitch. Our midfield not too far behind them. Every time they had the ball in their half or in their box, if they were trying to play it out from the back, we were closing them right up and they just couldn't get through us. Which is one thing, I don't know if you remember me saying last week, is that, well, I might have been saying it to someone in work actually, that if we play like that, we're going to get slaughtered because we didn't have the talent to keep up or maintain that sort of, offensive defense, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Where you got teams like Liverpool, Man City who can do that and do it effectively, but not necessarily against Barcelona, but any team does that against Barcelona, usually they'll just pass the ball around you quite easily, and then bam, they're on the attack. So which is why I thought we would sit back and defend. But didn't. We did it the other way. We did it by pressing them, and it was effective. I thought our midfield was absolutely fantastic. The front three probably could have done a bit better, but I don't think the service to them was that great, especially from our wingers. Again, we'll come to that shortly. Yeah. But I was just very surprised at how well we did. I think one of the best things for me to see was not. And this is something that I wish we would do in every game, is defend like that, from the front essentially. Because one of the things I loved seeing was when they got frustrated and couldn't bring the ball out, they would look for Suarez. Long ball to Suarez, who was just being smothered every time by Chris Smalling. And every time that happened, whenever they played that long ball forward, it would fall to a red shirt most of the time. And then we'd bring the ball down and we would play forward with it. Every now and again, we might have played a long ball forward, but it wasn't that often. It was playing the ball along the floor. And to me, I thought, why can't we do this in every game? We would stand a much better chance in winning games if we just play like this. Press the other team, force them into making that mistake, force them into playing the long ball, make sure Smalling gets his head on it. Do you know what I mean? And he was good with his head as well. He was bringing it down, and we had either McTominay or Fred picking up the loose ball and then carrying it forward. And it was just from that point on, that we couldn't really create much from that. But the basis was there, or the foundation was there to build on to actually win the game.
Yeah. And
I'm confident actually going into the second leg. I mean, if we can do that at their ground, it's worse to be played the way we played against Barcelona. For them, being at Old Trafford and having us play against them like that, fine. If we keep them quiet like that at their own ground, that's worse for them, I believe. Yeah. It's always worse when you're the home team and you're under the cosh. So I think if we can go to Barcelona and do that, we stand ourselves with a good chance of coming out of that game with the victory. I don't know. I'm just confident about it. Yeah. As long as the players put in that same sort of performance as they did last night, then I don't see why we shouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about some of the. Sorry, were you going to add something?
No. I was just agreeing. I was agreeing with you.
Excellent. So let's talk about. Let's come to a positive. It's relates to the title of this podcast, Coming of Age, with a picture of Scott McTominay. Now, I've not really been a huge fan, or I've not really praised Scott McTominay very much in his very short Manchester United career as a first-team player. I've not really considered him someone who would be a regular starter or would have a long future at the club. For a long period, we didn't really know what his position was or what he brought to the team. Yeah. But I thought that game against PSG, he was decent. But then last night, I was watching and I was thinking, he's been the best player on the pitch by a long shot. He was putting himself about. Very rarely made a wayward pass. Even when he was, he couldn't get the ball under his feet, he still managed to use his strength to get the ball under control and then do something with it. It's just a very solid, mature, professional performance. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I thought he was fantastic. I really did. I mean, and as you mentioned before, in terms of
and just one, if I'm not mistaken, he played an absolute beaut of a cross-field pass from one side to the other out to where I think it was Anthony Martial towards the end of the game. Yeah. And I was just like, Jesus Christ, did Scotty just play that ball?
Yeah, he is certainly growing into the team, and again, I was one of the ones that definitely give him. I wouldn't say give him a bit of stick, but he wasn't doing anything. And over the last couple of weeks, I think his notoriety has sort of grown a little bit. He's earning a few nicknames here and there, but yeah, my word, I'm the first one to hold my hands up and say fair play to the lad. He's made me eat my words from last night. Yeah, it was absolutely unreal performance for someone. Who's so new in the first team squad. There was a lot of pressure on him, because we didn't have, our first team as our experienced players really to come into a game like that, especially against that Barcelona midfield. And I thought he was almost flawless. You said best player on the pitch. It was between him and Fred. I also thought Fred was phenomenal last night. Fred was Fred in some respects where his use of the ball, but in terms of his positioning, his ground coverage, his decision making was so much better last night as well.
Yes, absolutely.
I probably maybe would have shaded him man of that just for his defensive contribution, because I think no one made more blocks, no one recovered the ball more, no one made more interceptions than Fred last night. But that's the only reason that I shaded it. But the composure from McTominay, the way he brought the ball out of the defense, his quick feet on occasion as well. And it doesn't matter where he was, whether he was in, our back third or their final third, he was always looking up, looking for the pass. And there was a few occasions that had been mentioned actually on social media and stuff like that, where he was almost Carrick-esque in the way that he'd pivot and he'd move the ball quickly. And it's so refreshing to see. We've had Matic in the team now for a little bit, and he slows us down quite a lot with his decision making and his inability to move the ball quickly. And I thought Scott last night, he epitomised everything that Matic wasn't. And for me, if he continues that, Matic gets nowhere near this squad. I'd much rather see him in there. He's fresher. He's got, he's got fresher legs. I think he's hungry. He needs the opportunities. And that midfield pivot of Fred and McTominay worked wonders last night. So why can't we apply it in the Premier League and in different, in different games as well? So yeah, I'm all for that. And I was well impressed with him.
And let's go to the opposite end of the scale then. We'll come to some more players in a moment, but let's go to the opposite end of the scale. The worst player on the pitch. I don't even feel bad for saying it anymore. No, because it's now 3 or 4 games in a row that we said it.
4 games.
Ashley Young. What the hell is going on? I mean, it's got to be down to his age, really, hasn't it? I mean, he's losing it. That's basically what it is.
I have no idea how he still plays for Manchester United, and I have no idea how he just signed a new contract. And I don't know if whoever's following me last night on Twitter may have seen a few tweets that I put out about him, which were quite sort of heavily rant based on Ashley Young. And I don't hate the guy at all. He's probably a decent lad, but he should never ever wear that Manchester United shirt ever again. As I said, it's not a one-off. That's 4 games in a row. He lost the ball 30 times last night. 30 times he lost the ball. Yeah, I was reading through his stats and stuff before. And in the last 2 games, he put in 13, or it was 11 or 13 crosses last night, and not one hit a Manchester United player.
No, I know
it's
that,
like it's like 18 crosses in 2 games that he's put in, and none of them have hit their target. And I think I'll very rarely put a performance down to one person, and I don't think it's solely on him that we didn't make a goal or create something. But he had a massive part to play last night. We had quite a lot of joy down that right hand side, and we had space time after time to shift it and whip in a ball, and he wasted it every time, every single time. And for the majority of that game, he starts off poor. You give him the benefit of the doubt, and then we get to 30-40 minutes. You're thinking, look, we're a goal down. We need a goal. Surely you switch Dalot to right back, and then you bring on a Lingard or a Martial, to bolster us going forward. And I don't know how he survived the whole game again. I think the only blessing in disguise that he's suspended for West Ham. that's the only thing that I can think of, because regardless of how bad Dalot is defensively or whatever it is, I don't think that can make up for Ashley Young's inability to play football. I mean,
Yeah.
it's honestly, it's baffling how he continues to start matches. And regardless of his experience, you can say, oh, experience had this and he's been there, done that. He's not contributing anything, literally anything, to this football club at the moment. He's not defending well. He gets caught out of position. And going forward, we might as well have a lawnmower. You know what I mean? It's been shocking. And I hate to single him out and target him, and but he has genuinely been diabolical, and we need to get rid of him as soon as possible. I doubt we will, but he needs to go like now. To be honest, it's ridiculous.
Listen, I've got no arguments with that whatsoever. We did actually briefly discuss the Ashley Young contract extension a little while ago when the news was announced, and I do remember saying then that it's only for a year, isn't it? It's only a year-long extension, yeah. And I'm pretty sure it is just to be, well, I'm hoping so, just to be backup. And not only that, he may not be great on the pitch, but off the pitch, he's very well liked in the club. He's got an experienced head on him. He's been at the club quite a while now. He knows all about the club. So I think there's a little bit of that that had something to do with that extension as well. I'm just hoping, like we said when we discussed it a little while ago, it is going to be a case of he's just going to be a backup player. Dallow's going to be the main man, unless he brings someone else in. You never know. But I'm just hoping I'm just hoping that's what it is. But let's go over to the opposite side of the pitch then. Our other wing back in the 3-5-2 or 5-3-2 formation we played. Diego Dallo, what did we learn about him and his performance?
Mixed bag for me, Dallo. I thought on occasion he offered us a decent outlet going forward. He did try and take on his man a few times. But playing from the left, I just thought he was wasted out there because we know how decent he can whip a ball in on his right foot. So for me, it was a little bit confusing why we didn't switch the two, because Ashley Young has played from the left. We know Ashley Young can actually whip a ball in from the left, those in-swinging crosses that he's done so many times and found his man. So I thought it was a little bit daft the way we set up. I mean, was that to maybe safeguard Shaw a little bit because he was playing left centre back to double up then whoever was coming from the right hand side for Barca? I don't know, but. Yeah, hit and miss for me. He did some okay things, on occasion he was caught out of position. I thought he linked the play well, coming inside quite a lot, bringing the midfielders into the game, but ultimately it was a little bit flat. I'd like to see more from him, but I think that can be down to his position and where he was played as well. I'd much rather see him off the right.
I'm glad you said about switching the two, because I think if we learned something from his performance, it's that he shouldn't play on the left. He didn't look comfortable at all playing on the left. No. And like you quite rightly said, if you think back to the Mourinho days, Ashley Young was a revelation. Yeah, playing as a left back. He was keeping Shaw out of the team.
Of course, yeah.
Young was an absolute revelation in Mourinho's. I think it was his first season. May have been second, but I think it was the first. And like you say, he was more than capable of whipping in a cross from that left-hand side. And I think that yesterday had been a perfect game to have Ashley Young playing out on that left-hand side. Shaw would still have been on the pitch. He's playing in the left-hand side of a back three.
Yeah.
We didn't play with a winger up top. We didn't play three at the front. We played with wing backs. I think it was Lukaku and Rashford sort of playing off each other, wasn't he? Lukaku was just playing, just off Rashford. And I think it'd have been a perfect opportunity for Dallo to have his spot on the right hand side, where we've seen him be effective. Yeah. He seems more comfortable, more confident on the right hand side than he did on the left hand side. Every time he tried taking the ball around the player, it was just more like a hit and hope, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
It was like it was almost like he was seeing his opponent with his legs wide open.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? It's almost like that's what he was seeing, because he was just knocking it straight into their legs all the time. Whereas with his right foot on the right hand side, he skips past them.
Yeah.
He got more confidence playing down that right hand side, and I think it had been perfect to have him over there and Ashley Young on the left. I think it would have worked a lot better. But we're not sat in the dugout. We're not in Carrington. We don't have any say in that.
No.
But I do think that's what could have happened.
Yeah.
Centre back pairing then, Smalling and Lindelof. What did you make of them in that game?
Yeah, half decent. Pretty good. I thought you mentioned Smalling before. I thought at times I thought he was very, very good. I thought he dealt with Suarez particularly well. I thought he tracked his runner. He was strong.
He certainly ruffled up Messi's feathers, didn't he?
He did, yeah. It was a bit of an accident, but with the flailing arm. But yeah, I love the little shoulder barge, getting into him quickly, nice and aggressive. It was just unfortunate he gave him a whack. You don't really like to see that, but that's one of those. Yeah, decent. I thought he could have been a little bit more. We know what he's like sometimes. I thought he could have been a little bit more composed. He did lump the ball a few times when he did have maybe a little bit of more time to pick his man and to pick a pass. But it luckily didn't cost us anything, and he fared pretty well. I thought Lindelof was decent as well. I thought he was a lot more composed. There was a few occasions where he did bring the ball out from the back and find his midfielders, which was good. I don't think there was much to do. In all honesty, there wasn't. Barca didn't threaten that much in terms of an aerial threat or anything like that. So I thought they dealt well. I thought they tracked their men really well, because Barca are always going to try those cheeky through balls and balls around the side. So I thought positionally they were great for most of the night. Just towards the end, just down the left-hand side, we were a little bit vulnerable, but I think that was part of the plan. So yeah, I was pretty pleased with both of them. No glaring mistakes for a change, which is nice from some of them. And yeah, it was decent. And that seems to be the centre back pairing which is working the best for us at the moment. So as long as they keep playing like that, I hope they continue there.
Absolutely, no, I would agree. Like I said about Smalling earlier, I thought he did his job very well.
Yeah.
His biggest strength, and I don't think this will be disputed by anyone, is his aerial prowess.
Yeah.
I mean, it's second to, okay, I'm not going to say second to none in the Premier League, but at that part of his game, he is one of the best in the Premier League, which is why he is still at the club. Obviously, he has his downside. He can't play with the ball. His decision making isn't always great. But when it comes to his athleticism, as I think you've described it in past podcasts, he is very good and quite important. And he did his job very well last night. Victor Lindelof, I don't think he was as good as Smalling last night, but I do think he was quite strong. He did use his pace once or twice to recover the ball. But there were one or two moments where he was a bit loose with it and gave the ball away. I can't remember one exact moment, but one moment that does stand out in my head is when he almost played Suarez through with that little flick.
Yeah,
and it went backwards, purely accidental, but still decision making like that. Well, I say that will come with experience. He's mid-20s now,
Yeah.
But just one or two little moments for Lindelof in there, but that's about it. Overall, I think that the pair of them were very good, and they have been for the majority of this season under Ollie, at least, anyway.
Yeah.
Let's move forward then. We've sort of spoken about the midfield. Pogba. Let's talk about Pogba. I was thinking about him earlier on, but I thought, you know what? Everybody always talks about Pogba, so let's leave him until last. What would you make of his performance?
This is an interesting one, because I've seen him split a lot of opinion over the past 24 hours, as he normally does, to be fair to him. I've seen some people say he was very, very good. I've seen some people say he was absolutely shocking. I mean, for me, he was somewhere in the middle. I thought he started the game. I thought the first half he was okay. He had some decent spells. He was one of our best outlets. He was always looking up and looking for the attackers. Played a few decent passes. But the second half, I thought he went missing. I thought he was massively missing. That could have been, I think someone mentioned a tactical switch from Barca where they doubled up on Pogba. But I think he drew the most fouls. He created the most chances. I read some stuff earlier on. But anyone who watched the game would have told you that wasn't Pogba's best game by any stretch. And I think it was Joey Tabor who said, he tweeted out, he replied to someone, I think, saying that he was disappointed, and I completely agree with everything that he said. He was disappointed with Pogba because in a game of that magnitude, and at the time with Messi having a massive off day, whether that's down to him or us playing well, of course, as well. But that was a massive chance for him to grab that game and show what he can do and really put his name out there, and he didn't do that. And I agreed with that. And it just seems to be a little bit typical of late, a little bit lackluster. There was times where he was sloppy. One of the fouls that he drew near the end, he just didn't really look bothered. And it is frustrating. I mean, granted, it's a big game. Barcelona got a very, very good midfield, but when you're getting outshone by the likes of Scott McTominay in a game of this size, when you're supposed to be one of the best midfielders in the world, it is a little bit concerning. Obviously, reports coming out today that apparently that Pogba and Solskjaer's relationship has deteriorated very quickly. I mean, you can read into that as much as you want, but it's probably a bit of garbage. But if it isn't, I wouldn't be surprised, given his track history. So, yeah, I was frustrated with him. I thought he could have done more, but granted, he is playing against a very good Barcelona team. He is supposed to be the creative hub in that midfield. He picked out one or two passes, but he could have done a lot more, I thought. But whether that's down to his attitude, Barca's marking, or whatever it is, I think he needs to be doing more.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you in the sense that I don't think he was great. I don't think he was poor. He's definitely somewhere in the middle. But at no point during that game did I think, oh, for Christ's sake, he's rubbish again.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? At no point during that game did I think that. Apart from Ashley Young, I don't. I don't like saying it. So I don't like singling players out in a negative way. But it's been a month now and he's been consistently shit.
Yeah.
So I don't feel so bad anymore. But apart from Ashley Young, I don't think any of our players on the pitch were particularly poor in any way or fashion. Let's move forward to the strikers.
Yeah.
Rashford and Lukaku. What did you make of their game?
Poor. I mean, that's just spun it on its head. Yeah, but to be honest, I mean, I'm not going to put the blame solely on them. I thought Lukaku at times did okay, holding the ball up and trying to bring other people into the game. But when you're playing a team like Barcelona, your chances are going to be very few and far between. And as you said earlier, with the likes of the players, we played McTominay, we played Fred, Pogba, maybe a little bit more reserved as well due to the attacking threat of Barcelona. We were a bit quieter going forward. And they were sort of living off scraps a little bit, Rashford and Lukaku. That being said, I think Rashford should have done better with a couple of free kicks he had. We know he can hit them. He can hit a decent dead ball. It's maybe the occasion got to him and he tried to hit him too hard or whatever it was. I thought Lukaku, we've seen him so good down the wings. He's strong, he's powerful, he's quick. And I thought he was a little bit wasteful. I thought he took too much time. I think he overthought a lot of the decisions he made because there was times where he'd be going to go down the wing and then he'd cut back and then he'd stop. If he'd just took on his man, he's stronger, he's bigger than them, I thought he'd have had more joy. So I was a little bit disappointed. But again, it's the two of them playing off each other, not much service. It is frustrating. And I think the changes that were made, I thought they could have been made a little bit earlier. We've said this over the last couple of weeks. One of the things with Ole, doesn't seem to be making his substitutions early enough. I thought that was the case again last night. We waited till nearly 70 minutes to make our first change, even though we went a goal down after 13 minutes or whatever it was. Thought we could have brought some changes on half time. That didn't happen. But I'm not going to put too much blame because it was a very sort of midfield intensive game.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I think in terms of the changes, at least anyway, what was the first change that happened?
Martial for Lukaku.
Martial for Lukaku. I didn't think that was too late. I think because up until that point, I mean, if we were struggling to get any sort of foothold in the game, then like we did against Wolves, for example, that game really frustrated me because it was closer to 80 minutes, I think, before any changes were made, and we didn't have a foot in that game at all from the kickoff. So it was frustrating to wait 80 minutes of nothing.
Yeah.
For a change to happen. Even then, didn't really do anything. But it came about 10 minutes sooner against Barcelona, which I was happy with that. I thought, yeah, that's about right, because up until that point, we did have a foothold in the game. We were, I wouldn't say going toe to toe. I mean, in a way, we were. Yeah, we were actually. Yeah, we were. I will say that we were going toe to toe with them. We were giving them a hard time, and we were creating or getting into positions to be able to create something on a frequent basis. So I thought that, it wasn't too late for that sub. I thought it was just about the right sort of time. Whilst we got a bit of momentum, get someone on who can create something, or the ability to score a goal, like we know Martial can, with a decent 20-minute spell. Obviously we didn't get the goal, but that I didn't mind. Now the Pereira substitution, I think that probably could have come a bit sooner.
Yeah.
But then again, Fred was doing well, McTominay was doing well. You didn't really want to take an attacker off that early in the game, you know. So I kind of understand why he waited until a bit later for that one, because obviously he was bringing off Rashford. I think that was kind of planned that Rashford probably wouldn't play the full 90 minutes because he has been ill or whatever, and you know he wasn't completely at the races.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for me at least anyway, the substitutions were kind of understandable. You know, at the point that they were made. It's just when, like I said, against that game against Wolves, when it's like that and it's 80 minutes of nothing before the substitution is made, that's when it gets frustrating. But for me, I think it was all right. But let's move forward then. Let's look at, unless you got anything else to add about the Barcelona game.
I don't think so. We've come out of it and we're not out of the tie. I mean, that's all we wanted, wasn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, it's what we said, wasn't it, last week? As long as we can go to Barcelona Stadium and, you know, with the chance of winning the game, then we'll be happy. And we've definitely got that. And like I said earlier, I think if we can carry that same momentum going into the Barcelona game, play the same way, keep them, you know, at bay, then I'm confident we can do it.
Yeah.
West Ham then.
West Ham indeed, yeah. So was it Saturday 5:30 kickoff?
That's it.
At home.
At home, yeah.
At home, yeah. It's going to be a weird one.
It always is against them, though, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's always interesting against West Ham, especially in the form that they've been in. I mean, you know, we keep saying it of late. They're conceding plenty of goals. And they've scored a few, not many. So you look at their form, the last couple of games then, lost against Chelsea 2-0, lost against Everton 2-0, then a 4-3 win against Huddersfield, a 2-0 loss against Cardiff, and then a 2-0 win against Newcastle. And
then before that, a 1-0 loss against Man City.
That's it, yeah. So it's a bit of a mixed bag. I think West Ham are blowing hot and cold. You know, they've got a fairly decent squad. They've got some real talent going forward, I think. You know, players that can really hurt teams. It's just, I don't think they always seem to turn up. You know, a bit typical of some of our players as well, which is you know, a little bit frustrating. But I think it's an ideal test for us. You know, coming off the back of some losses now, not playing particularly well. Well, the Barcelona game we played well, but again, it's another loss. And I'm kind of glad we've got a test like this, because I think of late we've seemed to relish the bigger games. Not saying that, you know, West Ham are a massive team, you know, taking nothing away from them, but I think they have got quality which is going to test us. And I'm glad it's a team that are going to maybe test us going forward, but maybe, you know, going backwards, they're not the strongest. So I think it could make for an exciting game. You know, they're gonna want to score goals. We're gonna want to score goals, and I think it will be a bit of an explosive game. We've been a little bit more reserved in the past couple of weeks, but I think this one's going to have goals in it. I got a feeling. Go on.
No, yeah, I would agree. I think there's I did. I think there's going to be goals as well. I do think that they'll come from us too. I mean, West Ham at the moment, they're flirting around mid-table, 11th. You know, they've got nothing to play for. They aren't going to get relegated. They're not going to get into Europe. Do you know what I mean? It's just going to be a case of, you know, playing for position now, trying to hold on to 11th, maybe try and push into the top 10. That's all they've got to play for. We've got a lot more to play for. It's an important game for us. We are now 3 points behind the top 4, level games with Tottenham and Arsenal. Game in hand on Chelsea. We're 4 points behind Spurs, 3 points behind Spurs are in 4th, and they've got a considerably better goal difference. So we're like Holly said, we need to win 5 of our last 6 games if we're going to get into the top 4. You know, it's an important game. So I think, with that result against Barcelona, not the result so much, obviously it was a loss, but the performance, I think the team can take a lot of encouragement from that. Into the West Ham game. I think if we'd have lost that game 2 or 3-0, and you know, Eds would have dropped, but you know, we fought to the end, and I think the players will carry that momentum into the game against West Ham. And when you look at West Ham's form, of the last 6 games, they've lost 4. Yeah, you know, in 4 of the games they failed to score, and they've conceded quite a lot of goals. So you look at their form and you think they're having a bit of a bad time at the moment. They had a good little bit of spell around the mid-season, because they were floating near the bottom, then they picked themselves up a little bit, and then they're dropping off again. So I'm hoping that we can at home, we can take the game to them, and I think that because of their form and the goals that they're conceding and the fact they're not scoring very many, will play into our hands.
They lost to Cardiff. We're battering them.
Yes.
Yeah, but
you would hope.
yeah, you'd hope. But they have, as I said, they have got the talent to cause us damage. I mean, looking at their squad, I mean, top of the shop for me is Chicharito. Javier Hernandez, absolutely love the guy. He's going to want to, come back with a point to prove. I'm sure he'll get a decent reception from everyone. I've put Marko Arnautovic as well because he's another one who can just switch it on and off as he wants. A little bit of a loose cannon, but he's certainly got the talent. He's got the aggression. He's got the pace. He's got the strength that causes problems. So I think he could be a handful. I've put Nasri down, but I think he's a doubt. I think he's injured. I don't think he can play in this one. I've put Declan Rice down as well. Purely for the fact that with everything surrounding him and the transfer speculation. For me, he's just a brunette Scott McTominay. I don't really see anything too special in him, and I think we'd be better off focusing on our own academy and bringing them through than throwing stupid money in someone like that. And then I've put Felipe Anderson. Now Felipe Anderson did come back against Chelsea. I think he came on as a substitute second half, and he has been one of their most potent attacking threats. I did watch him as well when he was in Calcio A, or the Italian league, whatever it's called now. When he was there playing a bit, and because I think we were linked to him a couple of seasons back.
We were,
and I watched him a bit, and he's very quick. He's a little bit erratic, but he's certainly got the talent and he's got the pace to cause us problems, especially depending on who we play at fullback. Because obviously Ashley Young and Luke Shaw are suspended, so we could see Dallo, we could see Marcus Rojo come in as well. So depending on where he plays, I think he could cause us problems. Anyone else you got down, or something in the same?
Pretty much the same. I've got Felipe Anderson as probably their biggest threat. He's their goal scoring leader. I know it's only 8 goals, but we know what he's capable of. 4 assists as well. Plays the most key passes in the game. So he's a dangerous player to play against. And we know how frail our defence can be at times. So he's definitely going to be a player to watch out for. Obviously, we know about Hernandez. He's got 7 goals as well. Marko Arnautovic, 7 goals, 3 assists. He's another one as well that's got an eye for a pass, just like Felipe Anderson. So that's another player who can cause problems. I mean, these are all players that can cause problems, but they don't do it on a regular basis. So I'm not really worried about it too much. I mean,
it's the cup final. What do you mean?
It is. I mean, that's what I was going to say. We know what West Ham are like when they come to play against us. We play against them. They always end up giving us a good game, a frustrating game sometimes. But yeah, I mean, Felipe Anderson, Chicharito, and Arnautovic are probably their 3 main players. Mikel Antonio, you probably could say, is a player to worth looking out for. And Robert Snodgrass, central, plays across the midfield. He's their assist leader this season with 5 assists. We know he's a player to watch out for. And I know people are probably listening, thinking 5 assists in 30-odd games. That's not really a lot. It's not, but from experience, I know doing these podcasts, when we've spoken about these players to watch out for, more often than not, the players we pick out are the ones that have caused us problems. So across the whole season, they haven't caused that many problems, but they're the best at it in their team, and they are usually the ones that do cause the problems. And it can happen in any game. So those are the players that I've got down to watch out for.
Yeah. So I think we are reading from the same hymn sheet, which is always good. Who have you got in your lineup? Who would you like to see play against West Ham?
Well, I would hope to see us go back to a 4-3-3.
Yeah.
At home to West Ham. There's no need to play 3 at the back with wing backs. Not against West Ham, not at home. I'd like to see us try and get back to how we were before this little slump started, before we got all those players injured. Those injuries, that was the start of the slump, and we've not been able to recover from that since then. I think we need to get back to that way of playing again. Get Paul Pogba back on the ball. Get those 3 players in front of him. Martial, Rashford, and Lingard. Get those 3 causing problems again. So yeah, that's my front 3. Martial, Rashford, and Lingard. That's the 3 that I want to see starting up the top. And then in the midfield, obviously Pogba.
Yep.
I would like to see McTominay keep his place after that performance against Barcelona.
Yep.
And Fred as well.
Yep.
So I'd like to see that midfield. And in the back 4, Diego Dallo at right back. Lindelof and Smalling in the centre. And but it's going to have to be Marcus Rojo, isn't it, for left back? I mean, we know he's ready to play. He's been on the bench for a while. It was looking like that, him. In fact, saying that, for a little while, a couple of seasons ago, it was looking like him and Eric Bailly could end up becoming some sort of cult heroes for United, wasn't it? And it still could happen for Rojo. You never know. But I'd like to see him. Well, so I'd like to. I mean, actually, do you know what? I would like to, because one thing Rojo has got going for him is that he can play a good cross.
Yeah,
he can put a good ball into the box, playing on the left, because that's where he plays for Argentina, isn't it? On the left-hand side of that defense. So I wouldn't be too displeased to see Marcus Rojo start the game on the left-hand side. So that would be my back four. And then obviously David De Gea in goal. So that's the team I'd go with. I want to see that 4-3-3 back. I want to see those front three back with Pogba behind them, and just get that attacking football back again, that quick football. Put their defense under pressure, put them on the back foot, get players forward, commit bodies forward. Create chances, score goals. I want to see that football back again.
It'd be nice, wouldn't it?
It would.
Yeah, I mean, you've got the team pretty much spot on. That's exactly what I've got as well. Only thing, I mean, there was talk of maybe some of the youngsters coming through, but again, there's no point mentioning youngsters. I mean, apparently they're ready, but they're not, are they? I think Ethan Laird, I think he was mentioned in maybe a couple of weeks back or something. He can play fullback. But it looks all to be like Marcus Rojo's going to step in. I think.
I mean, I've got something to say about the youth and this game against West Ham, but I do believe that someone's asked us about that in one of the tweets, so we'll save it for then.
There we are, fair enough. I think Rojo played. I think it was West Brom under-23 game a couple of days ago, and apparently, I don't know if he played a half or a full game, but apparently he was very good. He was very solid and very impressive. From what I heard, I didn't watch the game, but I missed it. But I heard that he was decent. So you never know. He has got a good game in him. As you rightly said, that sort of that little patch with him and Bailly had, which was superb. It lived forever in my memory. That one. He kind of.
It was nerve-wracking, but it was good.
It was. He always seems to play good at centre back, but he's usually absolutely woeful at left back. So let's hope that he can put some decent form together. Prediction then. What's the score going to be?
I'm going 2-0.
I'm going 4-2 to United.
Oh, wow.
I stuck by my guns early on. I said there's going to be goals. And I think their defense could be a little bit fragile, but going forward, we know what they can do. So, yeah, I'm going to say it's going to be a 6-goal thriller, and we're going to win.
Wow. I hope not.
Yeah, I hope not. Yeah, I'd love a 2-0.
I'd rather a 4-0.
Yeah.
But I want clean sheets.
Yeah, I agree.
Because
goal difference. Yeah.
We could be winning the game 2-0. It's like 85 minutes or whatever, or 88 minutes, or it could even be 94th minute. 2-0 up. We're dominating the game. The crowd are all singing, Ollie's at the wheel, and then they get a lucky break and score. That would ruin it for me.
Yeah.
That would just absolutely ruin it. I'll be happy that we won, obviously, and thrilled at the 3 points and, a step closer to the top 4. But it'll just ruin that whole night, that vibe. It'll ruin it. So I hate it when we concede a goal. I really do. Unless we then score again after.
Yeah, that's fine.
It cancels out a little bit. I don't mind so much then. But no, I'm going 2-0.
I'll take either of those. Just let's get a win. I think that's yeah. With City and Chelsea coming up, we need to be winning every game.
We do.
Marvelous. There we are. That's that then.
Twitter.
Lovely. I think only the 2 questions we've got at the moment, and one of them, naughty Mr. Robin Kenston, is involving transfers. Although, I mean, I get his frustration after the Barcelona game. He says, thoughts on Wan-Bissaka versus Meunier. Hype around Bissaus. I'm assuming that's Wan-Bissaka has been predictive text. I feel like we need an experienced right back rather than 2 young ones to fight the place. I mean, I get it. But it's transfers. But there's no doubt we need a new right back, isn't there?
Yeah. I mean, I would be thinking that Dalot is going to be the one that's going to step into that role, because I think there's other areas we need to focus on, particularly because our defense hasn't been the main issue. Okay, we know we need a central defender at least. But at the moment, I think that midfield is going to need strengthening. If Herrera's out, Fellaini went in January. I know he's obviously not a great player, but it's another body in that midfield gone that needs to be replaced. Herrera could be on his way out. We don't know what's happening with Pogba yet. Do you know what I mean? So at the moment, midfield is looking like we're going to need one or two players. Our attack, we need more options. We need another right wing attack. We need another attacker, whether it's a right wing or left wing or central or whatever. We need another one who can provide goals. So there's other positions that are more important than right back, especially when we've got Diego Dallo, who could still make that position his own. He's not had a particularly bad game since he's been with us. He's had a couple of average ones and a couple of good ones. But I still think that he could, fill that role. Now, again, we're just a couple of guys, a couple of Man United fans on a Google Hangout talking about our favourite club. We're not scouts.
Nope.
We don't watch every right back in the Premier League. We don't watch every right back in the Spanish League, the French League, the Italian League. I know, Robin, you want to know what our thoughts are on Wan-Bissaka and Meunier. Ash might know more than me, but I couldn't tell you. I mean, obviously they're both right backs. I know who they are. I could pick them out of a lineup if you put pictures of people, right backs. I could pick them out. That's not a problem. I know they are, but I don't watch them week in, week out. The only time I ever see them play is if they play against Man United. That's it. And you can't judge someone on 1 or 2 games in the season. And also, I can only go by what I hear and what I read, and that's just people's opinions, which you can't really go on. Which is why we don't really talk about transfers too much, because we don't want to reel off a load of rubbish that, especially if we're just making up as we go along, because that's not fair on you guys that are listening. But I'll throw this over to you, Ash, because you might have the hours to do some research and watch some games that I don't have. Have you got anything to say on those two?
What I will say is either of them will be better than Ashley Young.
Well, yeah,
that's what true. I will say.
That is true.
I mean, I like them both. Obviously, both decent right backs. I mean, Wan-Bissaka, he's having his breakthrough season this season. Whether he continues that on, obviously in second season syndrome in the Premier League, doesn't usually tend to go as well as the first, but he's quick, he's strong. Defensively, he's fantastic. Offensively, I think he needs to work on his game. And Meunier, I don't watch him enough, to be honest. I've seen more of Wan-Bissaka, obviously, because of the Premier League. Meunier, but again, we know he's got talent. We know he's technically very good. Maybe he can whip in a better cross than Ashley Young, who knows? But again, as I said, we probably do need to bolster that right back squad if Dallo is not going to be our first choice. I'm hoping he will be. But if not, we certainly need to get an experienced head in there. But it's a job. There's not too many experienced, decent age right backs out there at the moment that would suit us. So someone like either one of those would do. As long as we don't let Ashley Young go into next season as our first choice right back, I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, I would agree.
And then to finish us off, so Zach Brown, he said, feel like the game this weekend is perfect to get some youth in, i.e. Garner, Chong, Gomez, and or Greenwood, whoever is healthy. Also, Ashley Young needs to sod off to Serbia. I think he needs to go further than that. I'd chuck him on a SpaceX rocket and just leave him go. But yeah.
Just leave him in orbit.
Yeah, that's it. Just leave him there.
So this is what I was talking about earlier about bringing the youth in for this game. I would disagree. I don't think this game this weekend is perfect to get the youth in. I mean, by all means, have them on the bench, and if we find ourselves 2 or 3-0 up with 10 minutes to go, then by all means, put 1 or 2 of them on. But in terms of starting lineup, I think we need to go with what we know what we think can do the job. For example, Rashford, Lingard, Martial, you would want those 3 up there. You wouldn't want to put Gomez, Chong or Greenwood in front of those 3 in a game like this I'm talking about, where top 4 is over the last few weeks has just slipped away a little bit. 3 points behind top 4. Obviously the goal difference isn't in our favour in that it's an important game. And as you've already pointed out, Ash, we've got Chelsea and Man City coming up as well. We had our chance to play these youth these youth players right bang in the middle of that fantastic spell we were in when we had games against Crystal Palace, and I think there was a game against Huddersfield in there as well. Right in the middle of when we were playing that really good football, those were the games that you would think, okay, you know, we're scoring goals here in these games. We're winning these games 2 or 3-0 or whatever by 70, 80 minutes. Those were the games to bring those players on. But if I remember rightly, those were the games where these players weren't even making the bench.
Nope.
You know, and I think that was the time when, if you're going to blood some of the youth, do it then, whilst we're on a high, whilst the team's playing well, whilst the confidence is there. Not now. Not now. I think you need to get the team back to where we were then. Get our star players, our main starting 11 players, get them back playing together again. Now that they're all fully fit, that's what I'm thinking. So I would disagree. I don't think this game is good for those to play. Like I said, put one or two of them on the bench. If we're 2 or 3-0 up, come 70, 80 minutes, by all means, put one of them on. But definitely not near the starting 11.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's the game of this magnitude. I mean, yeah, you can say it's West Ham, but as I said before, with big games coming up, with us behind in the race for top 4, I think we can't be taking any chances. I mean, yeah, great, chuck him on the bench. And I really want us to chuck him on the bench, because if it does come 50, 60, 70 minutes and we're struggling, and say we go behind, and we've already, you know, exhausted all of our attacking options, and we need someone fresh to come on. Who have we got? You know, Andreas Pereira, Juan Mata. You know, they're not going to affect the game the way, you know, maybe someone with a lot more pace, like your Greenwoods or your Chongs or whatever it is. So I'd like to see at least one of them on the bench, just to give us something fresh, you know, a hungry option coming on. I don't think we'll probably see it, to be honest, though. I think we'll play this one very, very safe. And I can see why. Yeah, this is a must-win. Massive, massive game for us. We've got to win it. So I wouldn't be taking any unnecessary chances at all, to be honest.
And some people might say, well, hang on a minute. You say that this is a big game. You know, you shouldn't put, you know, the youth players in the starting 11 or anywhere near the starting 11. Yet we went to PSG and took Gomez. We took Greenwood. We took Garner. And all 3 of them were on the pitch.
Yeah.
That's a good point. But what I will say is that game, I can guarantee it was not a priority or a target for Ollie. His biggie is getting into the top 4, making sure we stay in the competition next season.
Yeah.
Not only that, there was nobody else. All our players were injured at that point, so we had to take them. And these were the only subs we could make. So that's why, you know, they featured in that game. And to be fair, they did all right when they came on, and they had a fantastic experience, which will no doubt stay with them for a very long time and probably help them with their development. But that's the point I'm going to make, is that game was, if we get through, wow, well done. Yeah. You know, but I don't think anybody was expecting it. I don't think Ollie had any pressure on him to get through that game from the higher ups. His pressure will be coming now that he's a full-time manager.
Yeah,
his pressure will be coming to get us in that top 4.
Definitely.
And I think that is why he probably played them in that game, coupled with the reason, you know, the injury problems we were having, and that's the reason why I don't think they're right for this weekend.
Yeah, I agree.
That's it then, I guess.
It is, yeah.
Should we wrap it up?
We can indeed.
Would you like to give out your Twitter details?
Yes, it's Ashboyo, ASHBOIO. Nice.
Excellent. You can follow myself as well. It's at Paul Gardiner MU. Follow our Twitter account as well. The podcast one is United Stand Pod, at United Stand Pod. Obviously, the main United Stand account. Follow that if you're not already, at United Stand MUFC. The podcast is also not only on pretty much any podcast app across Apple and Android, but it's also on YouTube. You can find us there. We post the link to that on our Twitter account every time we upload the podcast. Keep an eye out for that, or search Talking Manchester United podcast in YouTube, and you should find us that way as well. If you do watch on YouTube, please give us a like, subscribe, drop some comments, interact with us. We do appreciate the interaction. Obviously, it hasn't been on YouTube very long, so it's not very big on there yet, but the more of you that share it, the more of you that talk about it, the better. The bigger the audience, the more the interaction we get. And it's just better that way, isn't it? So get over there and do that. And while you're there, search Red Bearded Red Andrew Southwick. Most of you probably know him. He's been on the podcast a few times, and he's got his own YouTube channel. Man United fan, great guy. Get over and subscribe. And also Van Cam as well. Everybody loves Van Cam that watches it. If you haven't seen it yet, you don't know what you're missing. So search Van Cam in YouTube. It's Kev Ashford, Man United fan again. Very tongue-in-cheek sort of content, but it is quite engaging. So go ahead and subscribe to him as well. I think that about wraps it up. I've not missed anything, have I, Ash? I think I've covered it all.
Yeah, I think so. That's it.
Excellent. Well, as usual, thank you all for listening, and we will be back next week.